Hi, everyone. Just getting started, kicking off. I might just give a couple of minutes for anyone else to join. We've got a few that are in already, but there should be a few more popping through shortly. So just as we're waiting for them to come in, I'll introduce you. This is the lovely Lisa from Dext. She is going to give a bit of a demo of the best way to use Dext, how it benefits everyone effectively. From bookkeeping side of things, I love it because it makes my life a lot easier. And from a client point of view, it makes getting the data into Xero nice and seamless, and we can make sure that we've got all your receipts not only in one spot on Xero, but also backed up in Dext as well, and they can be easily accessed in there. So we'll go through a little bit of a demo of that. Unfortunately, everyone's cameras and mics are off just for your privacy, because I will be posting this to YouTube afterwards. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A. I've got the chat box open, so chat amongst yourselves. I'll jump in and keep a track of everything that's in the chat as well. If there's a question that's absolutely vital for Lisa to answer at a particular time, I'll interrupt and I'll ask her. Otherwise, she'll just concentrate on getting through to the demo that she's got. So without too much further ado, welcome, Lisa. Thank you for spending your time with us today, and I'll hand it over to you.
Lovely. Thank you, Michelle. Yep, nice to see everybody on the call today. I will do a screen share so that you've got my slide deck up. So hopefully you can see my slides at that. All good, Michelle? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so thanks for the intro. I'm one of the customer success managers here at Dext. So my role is to make sure our partners and our clients are getting the most out of the platform that they can. Today, I'm focusing more on the benefits of using it for you guys. So whether you're a bookkeeper, whether you're a client who's going to be using it like to help submit things to a bookkeeper, I'm going to be focusing on that element. Any questions, fire them into that chat box. What I'll be covering today, what is Dext? The benefits of using Dext. I will have a little look at the basic processing, so I will dive into the platform as well. I'm also then going to take a look at applying the automation tools that we have. So, where as a bookkeeper, you could potentially save a bit of time, and as somebody who may be submitting things, again, how you might be able to save time and maybe save a few costs as well. And then the Q&A, as we go through, there will be another opportunity at the end there for me to answer and pick up those questions. Okay, so Dext as a platform, this is what we're focusing on today. It is an automation platform. The idea is that we can grow with you as a bookkeeping firm, as an accounting firm, as a client end user. It's going to be a way of you processing your documentation, a really simple way for you to process them. So in terms of going from the very beginning, we're looking at the original data sources. So it could be you've got invoices, you've got receipts, you might have sales invoices, you might have employees who are submitting expense claims for reimbursement. It could be you're still getting PDF bank statements in from, I don't know, a savings account or a credit card account that we can't get a bank feed for. All of those documents can be sent into Dext and processed through Dext. The way we send documents in, we have a number of different submission methods, and it's a lot of the case it's going to be finding the method that works for you. We're designed to be user friendly. We're designed to make this as easy and simple as possible. So, for example, we have got a mobile app. You can download the mobile app, take photos of your invoices and your receipts, and fire those into Dext, where they can be picked up by your bookkeeper and processed from there. It might be that the mobile app is one app too far and you don't feel like having yet another app on your mobile phone. And in that case, you can use WhatsApp. So we have got a new integration with WhatsApp, so you can submit through there as well. Emailing in is one of our most popular methods. So actually submitting a document by email over to your bookkeeper might be how you process things at the moment. As a bookkeeper on this call, you might receive a lot of emails from your clients with attachments on. So ideally what we want to do is cut out that middle person and send the document directly into Dext so that everybody's working from the same sort of source rather than inboxes. And then the bookkeepers can continue and process those documents. So either way, these document submission methods are going to help us grab that data. Once we've got it, it's all about extracting it. So we extract 19 different fields from a receipt or a cost invoice, if those fields are on there to be extracted. We will extract them, including the amounts and the tax. And once we've done that, we want to apply the automation. So these are the two sections I'm focusing on today's session. Once we have automated what we can, so I will go into that in a little bit once I get into the product. What we want to do is push those documents through into your accounting ledgers. So whether that is Xero, MYOB, QuickBooks Online, it could be another platform. Once we've got the documents into there, obviously that's our bookkeeping data. So that is the Dext bookkeeping platform. Just to give you a little bit of insight into, Dext as a firm, the number of documents we're processing. I've literally actually just heard this morning, we processed 1.4 million documents in one day last week. So the volumes of documents we are processing are now massive. So so it is, it's growing sort of exponentially. It's just a lot of information coming through, and what that means is the information we get from those receipts and the how they're laid out, how they're formatted. We have a 99.5% accuracy on those documents. So we'll read that tax, we'll read that supplier name, we'll read the date, to a 99% level of accuracy there. We have also got, the sheer volumes going through, so 353 million receipts and invoices going through. We've obviously got more documents of other types going through, so bank statements, supplier statements, one of our newest features here. So if you find you have a lot of supplier statements coming in where you have to reconcile and make sure you've got all the invoices that match those supplier statements, that's one of our newer features, that we're able to extract the lines off those supplier statements and have a look through your ledger. So Xero, MYOB, have we got those invoices in? And if we don't, we're going to flag it as missing, and you can chase really easily through the platform. This one's been a bit of a hit with our construction industry, where you might have lots and lots of construction invoices coming in. Line item extraction. So this is where we see an invoice coming in, where we might have I don't know, 4 or 5 different lines on, or 10 different lines, 20 different lines, all with different types of expenses on. And we need that breakdown in our bookkeeping process. We need that information because it's all going to different categories in your general ledger. The line item extraction will take that out automatically off an invoice. So where we see this being very popular is in industries like the hospitality industry, where you might get a catering wholesale invoice and you need to split that out between food at 10%, food at 10% GST, food with no GST on it. So those sort of breakdowns, really, really important to make sure our information is accurate. We also have a whole number of reviews across various different platforms. So just highlighting those there. It's not just like a little number of reviews. We have got a lot of reviews there reflecting a very high level of trust in what we do, what we offer, and the platform as a whole, like the user experience. So why do our clients use Dext? So we know there are competitors out there, but why do we use Dext in particular? It's really easy. So because of all those multiple submission methods that I've mentioned already, it means you can find the one that works best for you. So it's not a case of, okay, I need to find a computer, I need to log into my computer, I need to go to a website, I need to log into there. We have got WhatsApp, we have got emailing in, you have got the mobile app. You could log in if you wanted to and use the desktop version if that's how you prefer to work. So really, really flexible there. It's finding the one that works for you. So what works for me as an employee of Dext when I submit my expenses is, I'll go and pay for some parking. Then on my walk back from, I don't know, the paying for the parking at the machine, I'll capture that picture on the mobile app and submit it straight away. So I've saved time, because that's a minute of scanning something or sending a photo that I don't have to find anymore, because I've used the time walking between the pay machine and my car. So nice, little savings like that, they all add up, they all make a difference. It also means we've got that receipt.
I'll also just pop in there and say it's very
Yeah.
helpful for receipts that fade, especially if they fade in the car. So fuel receipts, if you capture them straight away, they're done, they're dusted, you've got them. If you leave them a week in a hot car, guaranteed you won't be able to read the writing of them after that.
Yeah, I've learned that. I'm relatively new to Australia, and I've definitely learned that as a thing here that I don't experience in the UK. Cool. Then secure document filing. So you are capturing, exactly as Michelle just said, you are capturing that image, you are saving it electronically before it can disappear, before it can fade away. We've also got it in a really easy to search way. So if you do capture those images through the mobile app or emailing in, when you come into Dext, if you need to go and find that receipt for any reason, so let's say you have an insurance claim that comes later, and you need that original documentation to claim for the insurance, you can head into Dext and search for it really easily, search by supplier name. You could even potentially search by the description, and we'll search the contents of the invoice or the receipt for the description as well. You have got the option to back up to other cloud storage as well. So things like OneDrive or Google Drive, Dropbox, we can back up there. So if you're more comfortable working in those platforms as well, then that is like a secondary backup there. I did mention accuracy already, a little bit of bragging there. But from the moment you upload those documents, so if you're a client and you're uploading those documents, your bookkeeper can access that pretty much immediately. You can access that immediately. We're going to start extracting it straight away. On average, it will take 30 seconds for us to process a document. There's some invoices and receipts that will be faster. So let's say I submit like a McDonald's invoice, it'll be a very, very speedy one because we see a lot of those going through the system. If it's a new invoice that we've not seen before, a new supplier, it might take a little bit longer, but on average, you're looking at 30 seconds.
And
so
written.
It's nice. And a written one, yes, we can read them depending on how scruffy the handwriting is. And then automation tools. So this is more for the bookkeepers online here. Having a look at hold me a sec. Just looking at the automation tools. So setting up things like supplier rules for anything that's sort of repetitive. For the clients on here, if you, let's say your bookkeeper asks you to send in some fuel receipts, or maybe, an expense that went out a couple of weeks ago, they're busy processing it and they've asked you for this document, you can send the paperwork in. It might be a little bit after the deadline, but they can still match that up because we've got tools that will help them tie the transactions together, which is really nice. And then finally, less chasing, more saving. So we all have a big to-do list. We all get chased for things, get chased for paperwork. We all have to chase people for things from time to time. Actually, if we can capture those images in one of those nice, easy methods from the beginning, it means there's less chasing when it comes to the month end, when it comes to the quarter end. And the extra benefit of that is that any GST on those invoices, those receipts, we are claiming back everything we possibly can. So we're getting as much back from the ATO as possible. And there's less chasing overall. So it's good news all around there. Any questions so far? No, all good. Okay. Yes, nice. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so I'm going to dive into Dext and we're going to take a look at some of those features in action, just so you get a bit of a feel for it. So bear with me while I switch over. And I'll just zoom that in slightly. Is that big enough on your screen, Michelle? All looks good at your end? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so this is Dext. This is what you see when you log in. So as a bookkeeper, you might come in here on a regular basis to have a look at a client and process documents. As a client, there's a high possibility you won't need to log in here. You will just purely be submitting documents via email, mobile in, or WhatsApp. So but your login that gets you into those is the same login that gets you into this. So if you do want to come in here and have a look, you're welcome to. This is my demo account. So there's a few more bits on here that you probably won't see. It'll be decluttered, as it were. So
there are
in
a few
here,
clients that DIY as well, Lisa. So there are some
okay.
clients that will look at this as well. And that's certainly an option I offer my clients, and I'm sure most bookkeepers do have sort of that combination of DIY and done for you, because some people do like to have control over this and other people like to hand it all over and say, you just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that circumstance is usually, DIY bookkeeping and then just handing over for a BAS review, something like that. Okay, so when we're logged in, you will be taken straight into an overview screen where you get a bit of a summary of what documents are sat inboxes ready to be processed. So, what is sat in the cost inbox? We've got 62 items, 48 are ready to go, 14 just need a little bit of work there. You've got the sales, expense claims, which I'll come back to shortly. The bank that I mentioned. So if you do get those PDF statements, we can pop those into Dext and we can extract them. And then supplier statements as well. So I haven't got any supplier statements to be reconciled, which is good news. Approvals, I'm going to focus in a bit on those very shortly, but we do currently have 3 items that are pending approval, and we've got 2 items that have been rejected. Just take a look at those. And then finally Vault, which is a storage area within Dext itself. So you can see Vault over here on the left-hand side. The idea of Vault is that we can upload documents that don't necessarily fit in any of the other sections. So it's not cost, it's not sale, it's not a bank statement. So things like lease agreements, insurance renewals, are things that you want to be able to find later, but you don't want to put them into an archive. So if you drop those into the Vault, what we can do is we can use what we call AI credits, and we can summarize those documents. So we can create a summary, we can pick up, let's say it was an insurance document, we're going to summarize what the insurance is for, how much it is, what the dates are, and when we get towards the renewal date, within a 2-week window, we can flag that as well. So yeah, nice little solution there just to pop those documents into. Oh yeah, I can see Christine's commented in there. It looks like she might have had a look at the Vault before, which is good. Okay, so just to focus a bit more.
It's a very similar sort of system to what you'd use files in Xero for, except the one advantage I would have with the Dext Vault is you can lock down who can see it based on permissions, by my understanding, whereas in Xero, if someone can access your file, they can access the files, so they can see everything in there.
Yeah, so you'll see here the access column.
Just as a
you
little
can see
side
practice
point.
and admin. Yes, definitely. And you can create your subfolders as well, which is quite nice. Keeps everything nice and tidy. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to head into the costs inbox. This is where most people are going to spend their time as a general rule. That's what we see is the most commonly used feature with Dext. So within the cost inbox, if we want to upload documents in here, we can go to the add documents on the top left. As a bookkeeper, it might be that you like to use the drag and drop function. If you're doing bookkeeping in-house, you might also like this as well. There is like a file size limit, but actually that's not a, once you've hit that for the day, that's it. It's a document file size limit. So you can upload multiple documents of that size and we'll just continue to extract those. The emailing in that I mentioned before, that can be accessed down here. So you've got your extracting by emails. When you first get added to Dext, that's when you receive those email addresses. So it's not a case of, this is the only place you can find it. It's just a case of getting that email and saving it into your contacts. So I'd always recommend saving it as a contact. Make it a useful contact name that you can find later. I've definitely accidentally called it something not so useful, but something like, business name, Dext costs inbox, something like that, so to just forward things straight on there.
Just on that as well, I don't know whether this is something Dext encourages or not, but this is something I definitely do. I usually customize those email addresses, and if you need help doing that, I'm sure you can talk to your Dext person or your accountant, bookkeeper, whoever is helping you out with your Dext file, because sometimes they can be quite long. I like them nice and short. So for me, it's usually the person's name and the company, and that's it. And then they can always find it nice and easy.
Yep, no, it sounds good. I know a few partners are doing that, just shortening it. By default, it should give you, I think it's like first name dot last name dot business name. It can, if it's a long business name, it can get quite wordy. So yeah.
Especially if it's got the PTY Ltd in there as well, it starts to extend out.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and then snapping on mobile. So you will get a link here, so you can send out a message to download the mobile app, or you can just find it on the Google Play Store or the App Store as it is. Just to give you a little glimpse into what that app looks like, if I head back to my slide deck here, we can see the mobile app here. So it looks very similar in both Apple gadgets and Android gadgets. So you've got access to the costs inbox, sales, and the expense claims on here. Any documents you see in here are the documents you've been given access to. So if you've been asked to use Dext by your bookkeeper and all you need to do is submit documents, you're not processing them, chances are you can only see the documents that you have submitted. So we want to just declutter that, keep it nice and tidy so that you're not seeing, masses of stuff from everybody if that's not relevant to you. As somebody who is logging in to do the bookkeeping, you would see everything submitted by everybody in this particular business, and you can then process it within there. So we do just tailor that down. If you need to view any of these documents again, you can quite easily do that just by clicking on them, and it will just show you the image that's been captured, the information that's been extracted, and then you can come back to this inbox. And once it's been published across to your accounting ledger, so like Xero or QBO or MYOB, it will disappear from the inbox and it will move into the archive. So like I said earlier, you can always come back in here. You can always use this little search magnifying glass to find anything that you want to, that you submitted previously. To grab a picture in here, very straightforward. There's a camera icon. So if you're able to use the camera on your phone, then it's pretty much the same thing. So if I click on that, you then get 3 different options that you can slide between. So single, multiple, and combine. And this is basically telling the system, so if I pick single, I'm going to take one single photo, it's one transaction, and that just needs submitting as it is. If you have a pile of receipts, let's say you get to the end of your week and you're grabbing those fuel receipts out the bottom of the van, you can stack them all up, go to multiple mode, and every photo you take, we will know is a different transaction. So you don't need to come in and out of the app every time, in and out of the camera. We just capture that as we go. And then the final method here, combine. So if you get a receipt that's, let's say it's double-sided, or maybe you get a credit card receipt separately to an invoice and you want to capture both pictures and combine them together, or even a receipt that's as long as your arm. If you try and zoom out all the way, we're not going to be able to read that very well. So actually take 3 pictures going down that receipt, we'll merge them together and we'll extract them as a whole. And that's what combine is doing. The other option that's on here that it's not actually listed, is the gallery or the camera roll, depending on what gadget you're on. You'll be able to upload photos from there. So if you are working off grid, if you're in a remote location and you still want to go through the process of capture that image and then submit it later, then you can just upload from the gallery once you're back online. That's absolutely fine. Once you've captured the image, it's going to ask for a bit more information. So things like a description, a category, and a customer. This is optional, whether you fill this in or not. So in my past life before Dext, I was an accountant. I was a bookkeeper for 13 years. What I used to say to my clients was, if nothing else, please pop a description in. That description gives me what I need. So if it's a meal receipt, it's, I can see that you've bought Subway for lunch, but actually I need to know, was that lunch with a client? Was it with a supplier? Were you on a training course? Were you on a site visit? What was the context behind that expense? And that's the key bit of information that I would have really, really loved to go in that box just there. Category.
That can also be useful location for tradies and their staff on site as well. If you've got a particular job category that you want it coded to, rather than having to try and find all of that in there, just pop it in there and your bookkeeper will be able to find it from there, and they'll love you for that, and you'll get accurate job costing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just anything that's relevant in that box. And then category, don't worry too much about that. Your bookkeeper will pick that up unless you are the bookkeeper, in which case category, again, you've probably got supplier rules set up so that that's going to fill it in for you. We're going to use AI tools to suggest things. So it's very much optional at this stage if we want to pop it in. And if you want to charge this cost onto a customer, then we would need to know which customer to pop it onto. So you'd select the customer from that list and then hit submit. So submit top right or submit bottom left, depending on what type of gadget you're on. And that will send the document in and it will take you back to that first screen we saw where it's all listed out. I did mention the WhatsApp submission method as well. So I have just picked up a video here. So I'm hoping I don't need any sound on it, just to demonstrate what that WhatsApp integration looks like. As a bookkeeper, you add the you activate the WhatsApp integration with a user. So you edit their details and add the WhatsApp integration at the bottom there, pop the mobile phone number in, confirm that. And what will happen then is the person that you've added for their WhatsApp integration will get a notification, say you've been added. It's going to ask for confirmation. You just confirm as a client, yep, I'm happy. There'll be a verification And then after that, you'll be able to start submitting documents. So it's a really, really simple and quick way of submitting documents. So grab that picture. Um, Once you've taken the photo on WhatsApp, you can add like a little description with the photo. So if you pop in, a photo of that meal and it was a training course that you went on, write meal for training course in the description when you send it. That information also feeds through into the description box in Dext. So your bookkeeper will be able to pick up that like message from you. And that's WhatsApp integration. So there's not too much to that one, to be honest, but it is really, really useful, especially if you're regularly using WhatsApp. And if you have multiple businesses as well, it does ask you like which like business it needs to be submitted to.
So sorry, I've just got a question on that one. So with that, you
Yep.
can have the one WhatsApp phone number for multiple businesses, unlike email addresses.
Yep.
Oh, cool. So that's a good
Yeah.
way to get around that then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think when it was because it's a relatively recent release, like in the last sort of 6 weeks or so, I think. That was one of our first feedback bits was, you might have a director who has 3 businesses. They need to be able to submit to multiple different businesses. And yeah, it just prompts them, which one are you submitting to today? Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So what I'll do now is I'll head back into Dex just to show you a little bit more of the flow there. So once we've submitted those documents in, they're going to arrive into the inbox. So we can see here, I've got some documents in here. They've arrived into the inbox. We've extracted what we can on the right-hand side. You'll see the amounts that have been extracted down there, the description, that's been populated as well. And then what we can do is we can, this one's actually set up to request approval rather than publish. So we do have an approval system in Dext itself. So if we need, a certain director to sign off on anything that's more than $2,000, we can set that up so that it needs to be requested approval. So actually, this is telling us, this is a staff entertainment approval workflow that's been applied, which means we must have something that's coded up to staff entertainment there that's flagging it. If I head to one that is not needing approvals, this one here, if it does not need approval, it's not caught up in any flows there. Once we've extracted the information, and just to mention, we also have that ABN check as well. So we are going to pick up the ABN off a invoice if we can. We're going to check if it's GST registered. We're checking the ABN for validity. If we're not sure, we can't find one, you can go straight to the ABN lookup. That'll open up on a separate page and you'll be able to search for the name, or we'll search for the name there for you and just flag up what we can. Once we're happy with this, we can hit publish and that will send it straight through into Xero, MYOB, QEO. And once it's there, we'll archive it in Dext. So we're just again decluttering where we can. We're just trying to keep this inbox as small as possible once we're processing. Any questions so far? We all looking good?
Can I just get you to quickly show how you could have a look at the suppliers, like how many items you've already got for a supplier? Because that was something I was talking to someone about this morning. Under suppliers, how it'll show you the list of people that
Yep.
are in your archive. Yeah. So
Yep.
you can see the items there, can't you? And can you get into those from here? I think actually, yep.
Yep. So if I open up this supplier, yeah, you've got how many sat in the inbox and how many's in the archive. So we can come back in here and you can see where they've been coded as well. So that gives you that nice little bit of information to make sure you're consistently coding again.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I have mentioned supplier rules. I am just going to dip into those in a little bit more detail. So if
Melinda's just asked if upload several invoices into one file in Dext, can you split it? I do know the answer to this, but I might just get you just to quickly demonstrate that if you've got any that can be split.
Yep, so all good. If you're uploading documents, you have 2 different options to split things out. So a manual drag and drop. If you're doing your own bookkeeping, you can drag them in here and you can say it's the document I've attached is either one document per file. So it might be 5 pages long, but it's one invoice. So it's one document. It might be I've got 5 pages on this PDF and every single page is a different transaction, in which case we're going to opt for this one and we'll split each of those pages out and process them individually. Or we've got auto split. So if you've got a mixture of single page, multiple page within that 5-page PDF, auto split will automatically break those down.
What about if it's already indexed? So
Yep.
they've already
So
uploaded it. It's waiting in the inbox and it's just got multiple items on there.
so you've got a couple of options there. So if a document comes in, and let's say this had a couple of different pages on it and we wanted to break it down, or let's say, that's a 5-page document and you want to break it down, what I would actually do is I would tick the item, I'd go to tools and I would send by email, and I would email it into the multi-page email option so that we split that down. So if it was, a bigger document, that's how I'd process it. Another option you've got is to come into the document itself, and you've got a split option. So at the top here, you can say, right, split this between a current item and a new item, pop those details in and split those out, and it will create 2 different transactions.
But it keeps the same photo on both, doesn't it? That's the
Keeps the
difference
same
with
photo
doing
on
it
both.
that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other splitting that we find is quite popular is where sometimes people will send documents in and it might be, I don't know, one photo of an A4 sheet and it's got 2 or 3 receipts attached to it, like sellotaped on. So you get three pictures in one image, which is not too ideal. What we can do with those is we have got keyboard shortcuts. So we can use the copy and paste function to say, actually, if I just use my keyboard shortcuts here, I can select my area that's got my one invoice in, copy it, and then paste it straight back in to make a new transaction. So we can upload that. We've selected who the owner is, straight into the cost inbox, and we extract it as a brand new document. So a few different ways of splitting things out depending on what scenario you're coming up against.
And if the opposite has happened where they've accidentally sent it to the 1-page one, but there's actually 3 pages for one invoice, you can merge them as well, can't you?
Yep. And the merging, you will merge it together in the order you select it. So if it was this page first, this page second, this page third, and come to tools, merge those together, and we'll put it in that particular order. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So are you okay for me to head into supply rules now? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Nice. So over in the supply section, when it comes to setting up supply rules, what we're looking for is anything that's sort of 80% of the time, it's the same actions happening. So the same category, same tax rates, potentially the same description. That's when we want to be looking at setting up supplier rules to try and make things a little bit more efficient, a little bit speedier. So to do that, what I'm going to do is just reorder to bring my highest number of documents to the top. And I can see here I don't have a category set for Aussie broadband. So I can open this up, and anything in here, any of these fields that are filled in becomes a consistent that we populate these boxes. So next time Aussie broadband comes in, we'll automatically put in whatever description is here, whatever payment method is here. What we can also do is add a specific workflow. This is a new feature that came out a few weeks ago, where whenever we see that Aussie broadband, we'll just add a little note to the top of the screen with a reminder. And whatever your reminder to yourself is that you need to do with this, maybe it's 25% private use, you can just set yourself that little reminder and just drop it up to the top.
I like that one because we've got a supplier that does a 7% discount if we pay in 30 days, and they always forget to put the discount through. So I quite like
nice.
that.
Yeah. So just drop it in that workflow and we'll just remind you of it. If you do have that private use adjustment, we also have what we call smart split rules. And this is where we can start to calculate based on things like percentages. So we can say actually make multiple lines. So it might only be a telephone bill, which would ordinarily be one line. But actually we're now saying, can you please split this out into 2 lines, one of which is going to go to the direct loan account. The other is going to go to the telephone cost code. And you can put the percentage amounts in there and we'll automatically calculate that for you. When that publishes over to Xero, oh, go on.
Sorry, one quick question. Can you import the existing supplier rules that are in Xero at all?
You can't import the existing supply rules, unfortunately. So it is a case of creating it here because this is the start of the journey. So the rule that's in here is the one that applies. When you set up the integration with Xero, you can say we have some tax rules in the integration settings. So we can say whatever tax we extract can override what rule is set up in Xero. So if you do have tax rules in Xero, so if you say, I don't know, Aussie broadband, whenever that comes in, it needs to be at 10%, you've got that set up in Xero. If we extract something different, maybe there's a zero rated option, some international calling charges that are a bit funny. So if we extract a different amount, we'll override what the Xero rule is trying to say. So because this is our source, this is our original documentation, we
So it
want
has
to
to
make
come
sure.
in here first.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then aliases. So this has been really popular. Again, another thing that we've been able to do it for a while. We've just made it a bit more visible here. Often we'll get receipts in and they come from the same supplier, but there's variations in the name. So it could be you get one invoice, it says Bunnings, and another receipt will say Bunnings Proprietary Limited, and another one will have Bunnings but little dash on the end. So lots of different variations of the same, depending on the kind of document you've received, or even if the till receipt is printed a little bit blurry, things like that. So what you can do is we can come to the supplier list. We can run a supplier duplicates check, so we can look to see if there are any potential duplicates. Great job, whoever does bookkeeping on this one. We don't have any, but if we do find a couple, what you can do is you can merge them together. So merge two suppliers and pick the one that is the correct one. So whenever we get the secondary one, we'll change the name automatically. And then if I come into the supplier, at the aliases section at the bottom here, you'll see them listed out. Any that you've merged together will all be listed. So it'll keep the age payables listing nice and decluttered, one line for one supplier.
I find that a lot with Bunnings. They'll have Bunnings, then they'll have Bunnings Warehouse, then they'll have Bunnings Wholesale. Yep. And they'll go through all of those.
Yeah, if you buy online, it sometimes says something different to buying in the store. Yeah, happens all the time. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to move into now is the supply statements and just a couple of the toggles that are in here. So I've mentioned these different fields, but you have also got extracting supply statements. So where you get those supply statements and you are having to reconcile a lot of invoices to them, we can toggle this on to extract those supply statements just to make sure we've got everything in there. And then extracting line items. So this is where we're saying, okay, this item that comes from, that is a terrible supplier name, but the items that come from this supplier, we want to break down every single line. We want the full description. We want everything there. If we switch that on, we're going to extract the line items. That's instead of doing it manually. So previously it might have been a manual breakdown. It might have taken that a little bit longer.
I think for those two, the options, there is a certain amount allowed in the packages, and then there's a certain additional cost, isn't there? Just as a side note for anyone who's watching along.
Yep.
Just don't turn them on without chatting to your bookkeeper first, otherwise you might get a surprise bill.
Yeah, let them know, have a chat. Often things like supply statements, if you've got 1 or 2 lines, probably not worth it. If you've got 5, 10, 20 onwards, a lot more worth it. Yeah. Okay, and then expense claims. So if you've got employees for a business that may have expenses that need to be reimbursed, we do have the expense claim part of the system. So there's no additional charge to use that. It's included. And basically what that means is any items that are sent into Dext can be added to an expense claim. So we can see George's March expenses there. Looks like he's been doing some DIY. We can see those items being built up here. We get a bit of a summary. So if I open up the PDF preview, we can see George's March expenses. Here's every individual transaction. Here's the summary of and what it's going to look like in your accounting ledger. So these are the codes that it's going to be categorized to and the tax that's being claimed against them. You can also set up users as what we call automatic expense users. So what that means is whenever those particular users that you toggle it on for, whenever they submit a document into the system, it automatically goes onto their expense claim. So it doesn't go and sit into the cost inbox to be processed like via the normal business account. We use this internally, so I would only ever submit things for my own travel expenses. I wouldn't be submitting a water bill or a rent bill for Dext. So I'm an automatic expense user. So all of my things naturally land on an expense claim, and they're set up to renew every week, but you can do weekly, fortnightly, or monthly. And like I said, when they're published, they go through with the as an invoice with that PDF report attached. Okay, and the final bit in the cost section here that I've not dipped into is mileage. So again, if you've got clients that are keeping mileage, or you are a client that should be keeping your mileage log, then you can do that through Dext. Again, no extra charge to use that particular feature. If you're in Australia, you can use the GPS tracker. So that's on the mobile app. You just start and end your journey on there. What happens in the desktop version here is you then get to see all the different journeys. So we can see all the trips listed out and we can summarize it. So we can say group it by a particular driver for a particular tax year, or we can group it by vehicle. So depending on, if we want to see how far a vehicle's gone, see if it needs servicing, if there's a service every so many kilometres, and again, splitting it by tax year as well. So a really good way of keeping that log on.
With that, could you use that as a logbook as well
You
as like putting it through as a mileage claim? I can just put it through as a $0.
Absolutely, you can use it as a logbook. The first time you enter mileage in for the year, it's going to ask you how far you've gone for that tax year so far. So that's like the bit that's missing in your logbook. Pop that in the first time, and then it will track it for the rest of the year. So yeah, absolutely. Rather than a notepad in the driver's door, which may or may not be filled in. Okay, cool. So that's a lot of the like automation tools, the extra little bits that are in Dext that maybe you wouldn't necessarily know about. Is there anything else in there while I'm in the cost section that you want me to go through, Michelle? Anything that you use that sort of shouts?
I think those are the main ones: supply statements, the expense claims. Yeah, I think that's the majority. I don't think there was anything else on the cost side that think would need to be covered. The only other thing that I did just want to quickly mention is the Dext extension, which was another way of getting data into the system for
Okay.
clients.
Yes, so Dextension is it's a Chrome or well, you can use Chrome or you can use Edge, but it's an extension that you attach on. So we can see at the top here, I've got my little Dext icon at the top where I've installed it. What this is doing, it depends what screen you're in as to what impact it will be having. So once this is installed, if I drop this down, you've got the ability to upload the drag and drop. So if you've got this installed and you're in your emails, for example, or even if you're on the desktop, if you're wherever you are on your screen, if you grab a document and start to move it, it's going to pop up a little pop-up box that allows you to like put that document into a client. So if I toggle that on.
This is what I use for about 90% of my uploads, to be honest with you, because I've often got like, they don't send through the Xero file with the PDF attachment, no matter how many times you've asked them. So you download it and then it's just there ready to drag and drop straight across.
Yep, it is good. So if I drop this down, hopefully I've just started dragging that. You can see the little pop-ups popped up on the left-hand side. So it would come up whether I was in Dext or not. If I was in a different screen, the same thing would happen. When I drag and hover over, I'm still holding on to this document. I can then sort of say, what am I dragging it into? So it's a cost item, and I've dropped it into Dext Accountants. If I need to send it into a different client, I just change that and say, actually, I need to drop it into Bob's Plumbing, change the document owner, and then save that, and it'll upload it into that section instead. So that's what that's going to do on any screen you're in. So if you're in your email inbox, drag and drop it in. If you do find that pop-up starts to get in the way, and then you can just switch it on. If you're working on something else, like not relating to this, you can just drop this off as well.
You can also turn it off on certain websites. So I've got it off on Xero, for example, because there I'm going to drag and drop directly onto Xero, but a lot of my other fields, I've still got it open. So when you turn it off, like you did before, it'll say, do you want to stop it from ever happening on this site again? And you can say, yes, I want it to never happen on this site again. Can you just, oh, actually, no, Helen's got it. So I was just going to say, can you just quickly show us where to go in the Chrome store? But it looks like Helen has sorted that out. So that's all good.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it is just a case of searching in the Chrome store. It should be pretty easy to find, just an extension with a little D at the front. Okay, and the other things that it's doing more from like those who are doing the bookkeeping. If I come over into my Xero account here, what we will find when I drop this down is you have a whole bunch of different options here. So just to do a quick audio description of a few, things like when you open up a bill in Xero to have a look at, a purchase invoice. If you wanted to actually view the document itself, it used to be that you'd click on the little piece of paper at the top and then that would open the document. With the Dext extension, we just assume that actually it's quite useful to see it straight away when we open up the invoice. So when we open up the transaction, we open up the picture on the left-hand side as well. We also, when it comes to the bank feed and reconciling the bank, you can reorder the transactions. So my process as a bookkeeper would have been clear anything that's got a match. So anything that's green with a match, then clear anything that has got a bank rule applied, and then the rest of them. Hopefully not too many. But yeah, the green ones first. So you can toggle on this one here. It says order matches first. It could be when I go into the bank screen, and automatically it cuts off how many, like the number of characters. I think there's like 16 characters you can have in a description. If the important bit is after the 16 characters, you've missed it because it's cut it off. But actually, we can expand that description on the bank statement. So there's lots of little bits, there are lots of little things that make life a little bit easier in terms of your workflows and processing through something like Xero. It does also work on QuickBooks Online as well. So it has slightly different modules that you can toggle on and off in there, but it does work pretty much the same there. Yeah, so is that mainly what you're using it for, Michelle? Is there anything else that you're
mine was mostly for the drag and drop and the copy of the PDF, so I didn't even know about this, so I'm going to be exploring this once we get off the call. Well, after my projects, and then once I get off the call.
Yeah, nice. Cool. So that's the extension. That's pretty much everything I had on my list to cover today. So hopefully, is there any more questions, or we're all clear on questions?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good for, no one's asked any questions yet, but if Lisa's winding up, are there any questions that anyone's got sort of towards the end here? Anything else you want to know more about? Just anything about Dext in general? The one thing I will say, as customers, you can get Dext directly from Dext themselves, but often if you go through a bookkeeper or accountant, we can do slightly better deals because Dext, they love us and we love them for loving us and looking after us. So we can look after our clients better by, usually it's unlimited documents, unlimited users for the same sort of price as you'd be getting the five users to, I think it's 250, is it the base?
250 documents, yeah.
Yeah, so about that same sort of price, we can get you more. And then we've also got other options in the background that help us keep your data even cleaner. So that's the reason I wanted to show my clients this and why I wanted other bookkeepers to jump in. I'm happy for you to share this with your clients. I don't want to talk to anyone's clients that aren't my own about Dext. So yeah, if you are a client on here and you're wanting to know more about it, reach out to your bookkeeper as the first instance. And if they're not interested in Dext, definitely jump across and talk to Dext themselves if you are interested in it and your bookkeeper doesn't want to, but you do your own book work. It saves so much time. There is HubDoc, of course. I know Lisa can't say this. I love HubDoc for clients that only have a couple of transactions, but in my opinion, HubDoc's great because it's free and it's a free extension to Xero. And if that you only need to do a couple of months, it's worth it. As soon as you need to do 10, 20, 30 invoices for the cost of the Dext file, it's not even a question because it's not even hours worth of work generally that you'll pay each month, and you'll save hours and hours and hours of work by using it. So yeah, is there any other questions anyone's got? It's so hard when you can't see faces and I don't think there are any other questions, Lisa. I think you've covered everything pretty solidly. If there are any questions that come up afterwards, do you want to give me an email address to send questions to, Lisa? There you go.
Here we go.
So speak to your bookkeeper, email the customer success team if you are a bookkeeper, or if you're a bookkeeper who isn't using Dext yet, I would imagine that's the same email address, is it?
Yep, just drop a message through. I'll pick that up, either myself or George or Adam, who are also here on the customer success team. We can pick those up, no problem.
Yep, awesome. So hopefully that's given you all a bit of an introduction to it. I have invited Lisa back to do some more deep dives on the other bookkeeping side of it, so on Dext Precision and some of the more bookkeeper sort of style tools. So keep an eye out for that if you are a bookkeeper on the call. If you're a client on the call, I will definitely have more apps and information about other systems that I will be sharing. I'm very interested this year in sharing all the tools that make everyone's life easier, because that's what tech's for. It makes everyone's life easier. Like I said, it saves the bookkeeper's time, which saves you money. And that's what we all want at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for
Lovely.
joining me. And I look forward to seeing you in the next ones. And thank you so much for your time, Lisa.
That's okay. Thanks for having me, Michelle. Thank you everyone else for joining.
Thank you.
Bye
See you
bye.
later. Bye.